MC Tone from the 757 Spin Number the True. Back to y'all with another video. And today, I'm going to do a video about my top 10 defensive players coming out of this 2022 NFL Draft. You got guys like Devontae Wyatt, Jermaine Johnson, Aiden Hutchinson, um, Sauce Gardner, a lot of talented guys coming out and very impressive. But these are my top 10 players coming out of the 2022 in terms of defense side of the ball. With my number 10 pick, I'm gonna have to go with 6'3", 340 pounds, 304 pounds Devontae Wyatt. He had 39 tackles, 7 tackles for a loss, 2.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles. He's highly active for a defensive tackle with decent strength, made for movement, explosive with great lateral quickness to beat zone schemes. He had a great senior ball week. He was very explosive coming off this side, defense side of the ball. His lateral quickness is amazing. He's going to be very disruptive, and I think he can be one of those guys you could put in third down, and he's going to get to the pass rusher in terms of on later downs. I don't know if he can be an elite run stuffer because he's only 304 pounds and he struggles when in terms of taking on double teams. But he's gonna thrive especially when playing teams who are gonna be running that zone scheme because he has great quickness. My number 9 is cornerback Trent McDuffie. He's 5'11", 193 pounds. He had 35 tackles, 4 tackles for a loss. He's a 3-year starter at Washington. He has average size, but is overshadowed by his skillful ruggedness, elite competitor with route running mentality, fueled by his body control and foot agility, aggression, and burst. He can play slot and outside. He has potential to be the number 1 cornerback in his team one day. He's going to take a little time to develop, but overall, I think he can be a great player, a great asset. He's going to fall probably in that top 14, top 20 range, but you hear teams like Minnesota or the Seahawks taking him, and I think that would be a great pickup for him. He's the 3rd best cornerback in my eyes in this year's draft. With number 8, I'm going to go with defensive end Jermaine Johnson. He's 6'5", 254 pounds. This guy had a very productive season. 70 tackles, 18 tackles for a loss, 12 sacks, 4 fumbles. You see him climbing up the boards in this year's NFL draft, creeping up in that top 10. He has the NFL traits to keep getting bigger and better as a pro, underdeveloped as a pass rusher, but that can be definitely fixed with great coaching or in overtime. Occasional lapses in awareness, but that can be fixed. More instinctive and consistent as a run defender. This guy, I think any team taking him in that top 15 range is going to be happy with what they get because this guy is very aggressive in terms of the point of attack. And you can see through his production at Florida State, he was their best defensive player. He made plays around the field. He's going to be a playmaker. With number 7, I'm gonna go with Derek Stanley Jr. He's 6 foot, 190 pounds, 8 tackles, 3.5 tackles for a loss, and 1 forced fumble. He's uniquely gifted for a cornerback with the rare blend of size and speed and explosive. Played in only 10 games these past 2 seasons, which is a red flag. A lot of teams are thinking, can he be a D? Will he be a D Milner? If you remember him, he came out of Alabama and he came out banged up and injured. Someone like Derek Stanley Jr. is right now, but if you look at that 2019 tape, which a lot of teams are going to have to look at, you look at that. He is the best. He was the best cornerback coming out of when he was a freshman out of LSU. But these last 2 years, he's been banged up. But I think he has elite ball skills to thrive in a bump and run system. And if he stays healthy, he can arguably be the best cornerback in this year's draft, but it just all depends on coming with health for him. With number 6, I'm going to go with my big man, defensive tackle out of Georgia, Jordan Davis. He's 6'6", 341 pounds. He made 32 tackles, 5.5 tackles for a loss, and 2 sacks. They didn't ask him to do too much except for his job. I think he did a great job of doing his job, and that was, taking up space because he's a mountainous of a man. He will alter and drain possibilities to run between the tackles, quick to shed blocks, and he's successful in upholding double teams, which allows your linebackers to run around the field and make those certain plays. He's great. He's going to be a guy like Fletcher Cox. He's your Fletcher Cox or Calais Campbell type player where you're going to get a guy who's going to clog up those lanes. And I think he's going to be a better pass rusher than what people think he is. He's very explosive. He was very explosive during the combine. If you ever seen him run, he ran like a 4.78 for a guy who's 6'6" and 341 pounds. So that was very impressive to me. I think he's going to be better than what people think he's going to be in terms of a pass rusher. I think you can put him in a 3 down. It just depends if he can keep that weight down or consistently. I'm with my number 5 player. I'm gonna go with Kayvon Thibodeau. He's 6'4", 254 pounds. Played out of Oregon. 50 tackles, 12 tackles for a loss, and 7 sacks. Game is powered by traits and power and over skills and instincts, which worries some teams because we would prefer a guy have a natural skill, an ability to, ability to form his skills over time and instincts. Has pro-ready attributes though. He's a plus run defender who punches above his weight at the point of attack. He's a very violent player, but he's going to take time to develop. He's still raw. He was the number 1 recruit coming out of high school, and you hear a lot of comparisons about Jadeveon Clowney, but to me, Kayvon Thibodeau with the right system, with the right coaching, he can probably be the best defensive player in this year's draft. But his production didn't really match what people thought he was going to do out of Oregon if you compare him to somebody like an Aiden Hutchinson. But he's still raw and he's still young and he's still going to be able to learn. My favorite prospect coming this year's draft, to me, at number 4 is Kyle Hamilton. Kyle Hamilton. I think he's going to be a sleeper for a lot of teams. I know going in the first round, you're going to be like, how did he fall so much? Or why didn't teams draft him? A lot of teams are going to have that with Kyle Hamilton. Kyle Hamilton. He's 6'4", 220 pounds. He made 35 tackles, tackles for loss were 2, and he had 3 interceptions. He's a high impact safety with unique blends of traits and characters that make him a unicorn. His size is really what stands out to me. 6'4", 220 pounds. Has a very massive upper body. He has eyes and speed to play over the top, strength and toughness to guard tight ends. Thrives playing downhill. He's a very versatile safety, and a team will be very happy if he falls out of that top 10. I think that would be a steal for any team if he falls out of that top 10, because this player, Kyle Hamilton, he can arguably be the best defensive player in this year's draft. He reminds you can compare him maybe, and I know this is too soon to speak, but he has somebody like an Ed Reed comparison to me, because just on tape, the way he's just versatile, he can play deep, and he's just a smart safety to me, and he can cover tight ends. He's gonna make a lot of teams happy. With my number 3 pick, I'm gonna go with Travon Walker. Now out of Georgia, he's a big, rugged run stopper, body type to play at 3-4 and consistently outreaches blockers, plays with violent hands, and sets a firm edge rusher. Now there's a competition, or you hear stories that Travon Walker might be the projected number 1 overall pick by the Jacksonville Jaguars, and put him put him on the opposite of Josh Allen. You got a crazy combination. He's 6'5", 272 pounds, 37 tackles, seven and a half tackles for a loss, and 6 sacks. This guy is versatile, and where they lined him up at Georgia in terms of what they did with him with running stunts. He gave him good production, and I still expect that out of Travon Walker. They're going to move him around. He's a guy. He ran a 4.51. He's very athletic. In terms of his athleticism, a lot of teams see a very high end floor with the Travon Walker. And if you look at his tape, you see why. You see the speed coming off the edge. You see the stunts to get to the quarterback. He's going to impress a lot of teams. Well, my number 2, I'm going to go with Sauce Gardner. Sauce Gardner, he's a cornerback coming out of Cincinnati. They made it to the college playoffs. He's 6'3", 190 pounds, a long corner. He may have 40 tackles, 3 interceptions, and 3 sacks. Hasn't allowed a touchdown in his 3-year collegiate career, which is very impressive. He's highly competitive. Uses his hands to impose his will on wide receivers releases. He's confident. He's very confident. Some teams see it as arrogant, but when you play that cornerback position and you're playing against these elite skill guys, you're going to have that confidence like a Sauce Gardner. He lacks fluidity, but he's urgent and aggravating in terms of what he does, at that line of scrimmage. and he's a very impressive corner to me. He's gonna have to work on his footwork a lot and his fluid and his hips, but overall, he is the best cornerback in this year's draft, and a lot of teams are impressive. I could see him going to the Jets, which would be a great fit for him, or maybe falling out of that top. Maybe not. Excuse me. See some drafts falling out of the top 10. I don't see him falling out of the top 10. I think the team is going to take him up early in that top 5. Somebody like the Giants. Look out for the Giants. Look out for the Jets, and look out for the Seahawks. And my number one is Aiden Hutchinson. He's the most NFL-ready defensive player in this year's NFL draft. He has a very high football character. Any teams that played against him, they say he was a nightmare to match up against. He's 6'7", 260 pounds. He had 14 sacks, 62 tackles, and 16 and a half tackles for a loss. He was the best player from Michigan on both sides of the ball. He sets a very firm edge, skilled hands. He's very scheme versatile. You can line him up anywhere in that defense. He's gonna meet teams like Jacksonville, or if he even goes to the Lions, I think that would be a great pickup for him. Or a landing spot for him would be the Detroit Lions. They need somebody. They need an edge rusher, and Aiden Hutchinson would bring that high football character to a team that has, to me, hasn't had a winning season in a while. And this guy's been very impressive. Um, he's my most NFL ready defensive end or defensive player. I think he's going to be an immediate impact player for a team coming on early off that board. So this is Tone. Give me your thoughts and your opinion. Who's your best defensive player coming out of this year's NFL draft? Let me know. Tone out. Thank you.